In this episode, Golden and I discuss Marvel's What If Season 1. Full speed ahead.
The Omega Beam. Full power. The Omega Beam.
Welcome to the Omega Beam number 143. I'm your host, Oren Merton. Marvel Studios has produced some incredible live-action TV shows based on the characters they introduced in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And now they have produced an animated TV show in the same universe. The entire first season is now streaming on Disney Plus in the USA, which is where all of Marvel Studios TV is streaming in the USA. And I believe around the world it's on Star, which is, I think, a Disney property. Now, we keep this discussion pretty spoiler-free, so if you've seen it or not, either way, you're good to go. Now, let's get into it. I am here with Golden to talk about the Disney Plus animated series, Marvel's What If. So I will admit, as a Marvel fanboy and as an animation fanboy, I was not actually all that excited when I heard about What If, which is a little odd because you'd think I would be. It's, two great tastes that taste great together. But just the idea that they were Elseworld stories, that they were going to be one-offs, I wasn't that enthused right off the bat. How about you, Golden?
It sounded interesting. I mean, I always have enjoyed the What If. Mm-hmm. I've always enjoyed the Choose Your Own Adventures as a kid, those books. I was talking with a coworker who's also an artist on the side, and he said that he watched the first episode or so and he just couldn't get into it because the animation style. Mm-hmm. The animation style kept him from really being able to kind of enjoy it. I didn't feel like the animation kept it. It was different. The animation was different. At first I thought, wow, these are all, and this is a very light spoiler here, sorry, kind of separate ideas. But they're not, because you have the Watcher, or is that what he's called?
Yeah, the Watcher.
The Watcher, and it will tie together in the end, at least at the end of this first season.
Very true. Yeah, speaking of the animation, I have to say the animation was one of the things that wowed me, because we're so used to seeing animation these days that's either the classic 2D kind of drawn look that cartoons have had since the 60s, if not earlier than that even, or the newer kind of 3D CG Pixar, that type of animation. I thought this was a really kind of interesting combination. It almost looked like kind of hand-drawn 3D in a way. I'm sure it was CG, but it wasn't designed to look like 3G. And I really enjoyed that. And plus, even as modern and as kind of on its own that it still managed to capture the comic bookiness in that some of the Watcher's kind of powers as it's, doing its hand-wavy magic thing. And Ultron, spoiler, Ultron comes in. When Ultron was doing his hand-wavy power thing, it was using what was called in the comics Kirby Crackle, because those kind of magic dots that would be used were called Kirby Crackle. And I thought it was a really interesting hybrid. And the stories ended up wowing me. Ultimately these things, they're not just about the animation. They're not just about the technology. And they're not just about, it's another way to see characters I like in other medium. But it's the stories. Are the stories good? And I really got into some of these stories. Not all of them, they were mostly anthologized, although, as Golden said, they do wrap it up very nicely with integrating them all in the end. But each individual story is its own kind of encapsulated anthology saga. And I really dug it.
Yeah, definitely. I think some stories you definitely were into more than others. I know you had a little bit of a problem with Doctor Strange and the fridging again.
Yeah. Well, the ones, again, trying to keep it light spoilers, there's a zombie episode, which was interesting, but, zombies are never my favorite thing. There, as Golden just said, there was a Doctor Strange one where they fridged his girlfriend, which I think is just a really tired trope. And there was another one where Killmonger was the main character. And again, it wasn't bad, but Killmonger is just not one of those Marvel characters that I felt like, wouldn't it be great to get more of a story?
But I very much enjoyed before how, and kind of with Thanos too, Killmonger at his heart had the purpose that he wanted to see and what he wanted to see happen for the world. Had good intentions, albeit he went at it the wrong way.
Right. I agree with you, and I think that some of the best villains, not just the best Marvel villains, but the best story villains, movie villains, etc., are characters who are doing the right things or doing the wrong things, but for the right reason. Characters that you can absolutely see what their intent is.
Yes.
And it's not bad. It's just that the way they're going about doing it is terrible.
And you still have that heart with this character.
Yeah.
In the What If. It's just that he gets to go about it from a different direction.
Right. And since we're talking about these characters that do tie into the movies, I think it is not a spoiler to say that all of the main characters in every episode of What If is in a Marvel movie. This is What If from the Marvel movie characters. This is not just pulling from hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of comic book characters. This is just from the movies. This is put on by Marvel Studios, so they're talking about the cinematic universe. And they were able to get the vast majority of the movie actors to come in and do voice work for the animated series. And I think that kind of lends it an extra tie-in to the cinematic universe as well. And they did great. I mean, they did wonderful. I mean, certainly some actors you could tell they just love voice acting work. Like Chris Hemsworth, you could tell he just adored being in that booth. He had so much fun voicing animated Thor. It comes across.
I am a Benedict Cumberbatch fan.
Yes.
But for some reason, especially in like the last episode, I was like, is that really him? Because it seemed to be missing something.
You know, some actors, I think, and Benedict Cumberbatch is...
But he's done voiceover.
He is a truly great actor. But I think sometimes, whether it's the director or the situation, they really play off other actors. They play off the situation.
Well, that, and they may not be playing off other actors.
Right. I mean, he may have been alone
they may be recording it by themselves.
Yeah. And in that case, it's really up to the director. And I know that in the case of many animated shows, in fact, the director is remote. So they're not even in the room with a director. That they're literally in a studio with an engineer, and they're just hearing the voice of a director over their headphones or whatever. And I think that may affect some actors' performances. I think this is where, like, trained voice actors who have done that exact situation many times, I think that's where they really shine in voice acting situations like that over an actor who's from stage, from movies, television, who's used to a different way of acting, even a different way of voice acting, doing ADR, etc., where they're in a studio with the director in the room, etc. I do think also special praise needs to be given to Jeffrey Wright, who voiced the Watcher. And he was spectacular. I mean, he did such a good job of taking a character that really could be totally emotionless and giving it a heart and a soul. Some of those lines in the finale, which I'm not going to go over, they break your heart. I mean, they're just so well acted.
And I very much like how a lot of the What If did callbacks to the Marvel movies and taking scenes basically from those Marvel movies but recasting them or relocating them, but having it basically be almost the same thing.
Right.
I know that both of us really liked the What If T'Challa becomes Star-Lord.
Yes, that was fantastic.
That was really... There's some really neat episodes. I would definitely probably encourage my coworker to try and get past the animation aspect and see if he could enjoy the rest of it.
Yeah, and what's funny is, as I said, I mean, to me, the animation was a major selling point, that it was so good.
It made me sad. The episode that made me sad is What If Killmonger Rescued Tony Stark? Because I really enjoy the Iron Man arc that was presented in the Marvel movies.
Right, we got a different one for this.
Yes.
But, it is what it is.
I know, my gosh.
Yeah, I already told you that was not one of my favorite
Thor's
ones.
level of intelligence in the What If. They really just play off that he is not the most intelligent Avenger.
It is funny because in Norse mythology, Thor is a fairly dim bulb, that he is known for being incredibly strong. And the Marvel universe didn't necessarily do that, but I liked how they kind of were insinuating that having Loki as a brother and Loki being so smart and cunning kind of made him smarter.
Well, it was, I think, Loki pulling pranks on him that
Yeah.
made him have to
Use his
rise
brain,
and use.
yeah.
Yeah, he had to kind of come to that.
And I thought that was brilliant. I thought, the Thor in Vegas episode, what if Thor and Loki weren't brothers? I thought that was...
What if Thor were an only child?
Yeah, what if Thor were an only child? That was just one of the absolute winners. And they got everybody back. I mean, they got Tom Hiddleston back, Chris Hemsworth back, Kat Dennings back. I don't think they got Natalie Portman back.
She was.
Oh, she was fantastic.
Yeah.
I was going to say, whoever did the voice acting did a wonderful job, but hey, it was her, so there you go. But these stories are a lot better, and if you are like me and you didn't have very high expectations, they are better than you think they will be. And I really recommend watching.
Yeah, no, that is an episode where basically almost everyone is back in terms of those people.
Yeah, excellent. Yeah, it kind of makes you wonder,
The main
why
people,
wouldn't you
like
come back?
Frigga is not. Josette Eels
Yeah,
is Frigga, and we already have Alexandra Daniels as Carol Danvers.
right.
Seth Green is Howard the Duck.
That's
It's
right.
amazing how Howard the Duck just has popped into the Marvel movies.
It started, I think, with James Gunn putting him in an after credits scene in Guardians of the Galaxy, and he's just become sort of more and more used from there.
And you just add Clancy Brown, and
Oh, yeah, he makes everything better.
Clancy Brown is one of those people I'd love to meet.
Oh, yeah, he makes everything better. And having never met him, I've only read positive things about his personality. So.
And following him on Twitter.
Oh, there you go. So if you were wondering if this is worth watching, as someone who wasn't initially thrilled, I am now. And if they do a second season,
They are.
They are. Okay.
Well, according to IMDb, it said that there were, I'm like, it wasn't 18 episodes. It says on IMDb that there is a second season. So
Oh, great. Fantastic. I'm looking forward to the second season.
It doesn't,
And-
of course, have any episode numbers, so I'm assuming it was that they are going with it.
Yeah. So if you weren't that excited when you just heard it was happening, it really is going to be absolutely something you will enjoy. If you're already looking forward to it, but just haven't gotten to it yet, then you can be sure it is as good as you think it is. And
And there's nothing that we've said, I don't think that's going to
no major spoilers.
spoil anything
Yeah.
for you.
And if you already have seen it, then you know how good it is, and you're probably also looking forward to season 2. If, like Golden's coworker, the animation style is just not what you expect, give it a shot. Wait a few episodes, see if you can get used to it, because it is a little different. I like different. I enjoyed it. I got into it. Like I said, I think it's one of the selling points ultimately.
And also, you have to give it to Marvel for, they must have had this in the works for quite some time, because Chadwick Boseman
Yeah.
this is his final project with Marvel before his death.
Yeah, I have to admit, it was a little heartbreaking to hear his voice, especially, towards some of the latter episodes. His voice did sound noticeably hoarser than it does in the movies. And so if he were fine, you'd be thinking, oh, I guess he had a cold or a flu or something when he was doing his voice. But now you wonder, oh, was he getting weaker at the time?
So I'm looking at the trivia on IMDb because I like the trivia.
Mm-hmm.
This is cute. An episode pitch involving the Guardians of the Galaxy was suggested for the first season, but it had to be scrapped after A.C. Bradley was told that she had inadvertently written half the plot of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3.
Okay. Whoops.
it sounds like our time talking about what if is coming to a close. Because our third commentator is starting to add her commentary, and we're not exactly sure what she's saying.
I think her commentary probably has a lot to do with being about ready for a meal.
Yes.
Well, thank you.
And I think she might have slept through some of the episodes, too.
That's very possible. Well, thank you, Golden.
You are welcome.
And that's it for this episode. You can find the show notes at theomegabeam.com/143. If you liked this episode, please leave a review wherever you listen to podcasts. Your reviews help people who like this stuff find our podcast. If you have any comments or suggestions, please drop us a line at info@theomegabeam.com. Be good to yourselves and each other, and we'll catch you next time.
The Omega Beam. Full stop.